All right, welcome to Define Insanity with Joe and Hoser. That is my name. I am Hoser, and this is our podcast. So, Joe, what do you want to do with this podcast? This is our first episode. We got to let our audience know.
I could be Joe. I could be my real name.
Well, Joe has got a more ring to it, you know, like Justin. Just, I don't know, something. I don't really like it.
And you pick Hoser? That's what you go with?
Well, Hoser was a name I had in my childhood, and I hated it. And it fucking pissed me off. I used to go home and cry over, why do they call me Hoser? So now I want to take it back. That's how we're doing it.
Okay.
You got it?
Yeah, I got it. I'm not calling you Hoser.
All right. Well, anyway, it's going to be Joe and Hoser. All right. So our podcast is going to be kind of like whatever you want to do, laissez-faire, you know, carte blanche. We have people in the room right now. They're allowed to interject whenever they want.
No, they're not.
Sure they are.
They keep their mouth shut until we tell them to talk.
They can talk. Anyone who's in the room can talk.
I didn't sign up. All right.
All right. That's how we're doing it. All right.
So let me ask you something now. How long have we known each other?
8 years, I would say.
We're going to talk a little bit about how we met and where we came from and what some of the themes of the podcast is going to be. But we've known each other 8 years, right?
Yeah.
So Justin and I met in a sober house.
Yeah.
Right? I was already in the sober house for a few months, and I just got my own room. It was beautiful. I was so excited. I'm in there with 18 other men. And then in walks this Momo. And I want him to pick up the story because what did the manager do? He was about to take you upstairs to your own room or something like that?
Yes, so I walked into the sober house, and this place is, you know, crazy. Like, I've never been to a sober house before. You know, you got these, you know, roid heads running around and people wearing wife beaters and just like they were so comfortable. And like I walk in there, and the guy who runs the house, Danny, he, you know, is about to bring me upstairs because I'm the new guy. Obviously, I'm going to get the worst room. And something hits him, and he goes, you know what? I'm not going to do that to you. That's what he says. First of all, he knows he's doing that to someone, you know? So I'm not going to do that to you. And he brings me down. I'm going to put you in this room. And I walk in there, and there's all I see is a million fucking shirts, like really small clothing, you know? So I'm thinking there's going to be
nice and tight.
I'm thinking there's going to be some small, you know, diminutive roommate I'm going to have.
Either you're a room with a 12-year-old boy.
Yeah,
because
with a
I wear
lot of
boyish
clothes.
mediums.
Right, that's what I thought. It was very weird. And
I like my tits to pop.
Of course, you know, when I meet Joe and when my roommate Joe comes there, you know, he's 6'1", you know
it.
200, 190, 200. Like,
at that time, I was probably like 190, 195.
He just wore really tight clothes, and he had a lot of it. He's
tight
Italian.
like a tiger.
Yeah, he's like this Jersey Shore guy. You know, that's what I felt like when I first
high boots, high hair.
Right.
Big nose.
Yeah, huge nose. But it works for him. Like some people, they can't pull off the big nose, you know. But you know, he pulls it off. It's good. Yeah. So that's how we met, and he's my roommate there for like 4 months.
Yeah, and that's how it all started. I just kind of want to talk about how the podcast even came to be, because the sober house, we were in there with a lot of guys and a lot of crazy guys, and we'd sit around sometimes, whether it was meetings, whether it was outpatient, or whether it was just us playing spades or sitting there while watching a movie, telling stories, and me and Justin just kept on looking at each other and said, you cannot make this shit up.
Yeah.
Because so many different walks of life, so many different demographics, a lot of the same feelings, but the stories, man, and the insanity of where our addictions and alcoholism took us, every single one of us. Not just the insanity, but the genius and like funny within the insanity. We just kept on saying the same thing. You can't make this shit up. And then eventually we decided we should write like a pilot script. We should do a series called Burning Desire. And starting out at rock bottom of 6 different characters, addicts and alcoholic, who come together based on seeing the last day of their drinking and drugging career, their rock bottom, come together and kind of woven it together. So my point of view now, I'm sitting there, I'm ready to get my new room, all by myself, and this kid walks in, and I'm like, oh, God. Same thing. He's not 6'1". I'll put it that way.
5'10".
Yeah. 5'10" on a really good day.
I'm 5'10".
On a really good day. And so sloppy like 7th grade boy hair, from the 90s. Like, but good looking dude, you know what I mean? And he starts yapping his mouth and he starts talking about that he's an actor and this and that. And it's funny because that sparked that in me. Remember you told me to go to Central Casting? It turns out, and that's why you got to try things so you don't regret it. I regretted not going to try acting for so long. Meanwhile, I hated it. I hated sitting around for 12 hours. I fucking hate people telling me what to do. I'm going to take a job where literally you have to listen to someone the whole time, a director. It didn't work for me. But so anyway, this kid comes in and we have a lot of similarities. He starts talking about all that and we bond right away and we became really good friends. But we've been talking about this podcast forever because from us talking and listening to all the stories, one of the things we realize is everyone in life comes across a lot of different crossroads, and the decisions we make at those crossroads shape our life, and you can look back at like an alternative universe where you did one thing instead of the other. So that being said, one of the things we want to do is bring people from all walks of life on here, family, friends, acquaintances, people we admire, people we just are interested in and want to talk to and find out, like, what were those crossroads? You know what I mean? That's the stuff I think is interesting too. And that's why I want to ask you about your story and how many crossroads you came along the way. Because I could look back at my own life and I see a bunch of decisions that could have went either way and my life could have been totally different. And that really fascinates me because whoever you are, I mean, anybody, if we sat down with anyone and asked them about that and they really reflect on their life, they'd be like, ooh. And I'm very interested, especially when you see somebody who's not just successful, but happy, fulfilled, content. They have that certain thing about them. That's when I really want to know, okay, what the fuck are you doing? Like, where you've been? Where you been? What happened? So for you, for example, right? Because you've been to so many detoxes, rehabs, stuff like that, right?
10 rehabs and at least 10 detoxes.
That was the first sober house you were ever in, though?
Yes.
How long were you at the sober house total?
I think 4 months.
And by then, how many detoxes and rehabs have you been to?
Oh, so when I went to that sober house, I think I was on 5. I was on 5 rehabs and about maybe 6 or 7 detoxes, roughly. It's hard to keep track of the detoxes, But the rehabs, I know 10, and I know I was on 5. So after that sober house visit, and I stayed abstinent for 11 months and 30 days, basically, almost a year, and it was miserable. I was just completely miserable. It was the most painful year of my life because I didn't do anything to help my the root causes of why I was using and drinking and all that stuff. All I did was stop using and drinking. And that was painful because everything was still there. All the pain and everything was still there. The emotional baggage was still there. I just didn't even have the alcohol and the drugs to numb it temporarily and give me a little bit of relief, So I had nothing. And I relapsed, almost about a year after I relapsed. And then I relapsed again and again and again. 5 more rehabs and countless more detoxes until eventually I had this moment where I woke up in a hospital in my underwear. My finger was hanging off. I don't know how that happened. The doctors were saying that they're saying I tried to kill myself, which I don't believe. I don't remember. I like myself. I wouldn't try to kill myself, but that's what they said.
Yeah, but when you're blackout drunk, you have no fucking idea what you're doing.
Right. So so that's what they said. And
who knows? You might have just drank so much that they're like, you were trying to kill yourself.
Well, yeah, but then they told me like I was saying like I wanted to kill myself.
Yeah.
Right. But regardless, I could have just been whatever.
Absolutely.
Look, if I wanted to kill myself, I could kill myself. Like I like to think that I could finish the job if I wanted to. But apparently I failed at that. But I didn't care. Like I had vodka at home. I had to get to that vodka. That's all I thought about. Get to that vodka.
So as soon as you get out of the hospital, right, you come to.
Yeah.
The doctor tells you all this.
Yeah.
Right. They don't recommend you go to detox or rehab or anything like that from there.
Yeah. No, they
psych ward.
They not recommended. They were taking me to the psych ward. I had to talk my way out of it.
Okay. So then when you get out of there, what's the first thing you do?
Get in a cab, get in home, climb through my window, and get to that vodka. But before I could get to the vodka, my little dog was sitting there, a little chihuahua, staring at me as I climbed through the second story. Katie,
God
climbed into the second story window, and I fall and I plop down, and she's just staring at me, and something about that dog's eyes made me reevaluate my entire life.
Shame, Justin.
Right. 10 rehabs, countless detoxes, waking up in gutters, under boardwalks, in jails, in hospitals. None of that, was enough.
Yeah,
but that dog staring at me.
That dog staring at you just gave you a pause button to be like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
I'm in my underwear climbing through my own window.
Yeah.
I just woke up in the
With my
hospital.
finger hanging off.
And the only thing I can think about is getting a drink. And my dog's like, you loser.
Right. That's what my dog
You
did.
fucking loser.
Just stared at me and said, you loser.
Oh, I
you
get it.
Fucking piece of shit.
I get it.
Yeah.
So, okay. And that's when you actually got sober and now stayed sober. How long?
Whoa, I mean, then I called the rehab and they did the whole thing. They picked me up. But then when I got to the rehab, I did everything, took all the suggestions. First of all, they didn't even want me back in the rehab because they just...
LICL,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
I've been to that specific one 5 times up to that point. So 4 times. This would have been my 5th. But I didn't listen to anything they said. I didn't do any suggestions, and I kept coming back, so they thought they couldn't help me. But one person on the phone said, he sounds different this time, and lobbied for me. They got me in. I have a bed in 2 days, so I needed to get through 2 days without ending up at the hospital again. I called everyone. No one wanted to help me. They were tired of me. I Facebook messaged an old acquaintance I had from high school, Brian, and we weren't even really close friends. We were acquaintances, whatever. I haven't spoken to him in like 5 years, right? And I don't know why. Out of 5,000 friends on Facebook, I picked him. But I did. And he goes, I'll be there in 20 minutes or whatever. And I thought he was joking. No, I thought he was bullshit. I thought it was bullshit,
of course.
Right? And he shows up. First of all, he just got out of prison for like a 10-year stint for shooting up cars or whatever. And he shows up and he babysat me for 2 days, gets me to the rehab. I do everything the people in the rehab say. I get out. I call you. I say, you're going to be my sponsor. I need you to be my sponsor. I go to a meeting the first day. I go to home group, get a commitment. I'm going to meetings 7 days a week. Twice on Saturday, sharing in every meeting. I didn't care how annoying I was when I shared. I could have shared about the same thing 5 days in a row in front of the same people. I did not care because I was so desperate. I didn't care how pathetic I looked because I was pathetic at that moment, And I needed to dig my way out of it. And the only way to do that was to talk about it in these meetings. And eventually we went through the steps and I got sober. And it took about a year for me to actually really, feel good, comfortable in my skin. It was tough, but it was definitely a lot easier than abstinent with no program or no God.
No, and that's what one of the things that helped me. And what's funny is that lady you called who said, sounds different this time. Like, we're always desperate when we're begging or trying to get high or trying to get in someplace, but there's a different desperation. That desperation has like a humility behind it.
Yeah.
And you can hear it in your voice. So, and that's crazy, right?
Yeah, but that's how we met. We met in the sober house. You stayed sober. You were working a program. You were getting on your knees every morning and every night praying, and you were doing everything that was needed. Then that's where you were in your life. You were there. I wasn't there yet.
No,
I needed more pain and suffering. I needed to be more desperate.
Yeah,
and I got it.
Absolutely.
I survived to that point.
Thank God.
Not everyone survives to that point.
No,
and I shouldn't be here. Honestly, if I suffer the consequences of what I deserve for my actions, I'd be dead or in prison. I drove felony drunk with people in my car going 100 miles an hour, 115 miles an hour.
Oh, my God.
Just with one eye shut, because if I two eyes open, I would see multiple roads. So I had to shut one eye, 115, 0.40 alcohol level, which is deadly. Anything above 0.2, I should have alcohol poisoning. I was doubling that, driving. That's felony, drunk driving. And every day for 15 years. Never hurt anyone. Never got any.
Thank God. But I want to go back to what you said before because I think that's important. That it took a year for you to feel good. Like I know you had moments of feeling good. It's not like because I saw you had plenty of moments of feeling good, but your equilibrium came back.
Yeah.
And that's why when I was in rehab, what helped me was when the neurologist came in and started explaining. That's what helped me because I've quit so many times. I was in and out for 10 years trying to get sober and stop using drugs, and I just couldn't do it. And one of the things that hurt, because I'd get 3 months, 6 months, 8 months, like drop of a hat. The problem is every time I got those months back, I got everything back, so my ego built more. But also I was so miserable and depressed, and I didn't know why. When the neurologist came in that last time around when I was in rehab, because I only went to one, I went through 6 different therapists that somehow I manipulated to tell my parents and everybody else that I didn't need it. But finally, it was that time. I had that moment of desperation too. And when that neurologist came in there and started talking about what crystal meth does, what heroin does, what all these things do to your dopamine levels, your endorphins, and the way he explained it was fascinating. It kind of just clicked for me. riding a bike, playing football with my friends, doing normal things, listening to music I like, those things give me that same response, right? That same good feeling, that same euphoria that drugs and alcohol gave me. But after using drugs and alcohol for so long, those things are just, they don't have the same sound bite. It's like they're on mute. They're on a lower volume. You know what I mean? And that volume gets higher as you give it time. But I'm such an instant gratification son of a bitch that I would climb the mountain as fast as possible in those 3 to 6 to 8 months, and then it would get boring, and I felt like I was plateauing, and I'm not. But if I'm not going up at a certain trajectory to my liking, I'm going to feel like I'm going backwards. And at that point, I just jump off the fucking mountain just so I could climb it again.
Yeah.
And that's the scary thing. But that dopamine understanding, that helped me this time around, understanding that everything takes time. And if your dopamine receptor represents a glass of water, let's say, right? What I'm doing every day by taking drugs is just turning on the faucet and filling that bitch up, right? And it's perfect. But when I stop, it doesn't happen like that. It's going to get to the point where it's full, and it gets full from things like a bike ride, going to the beach, you know, throwing a football around with friends, helping someone, you know, whatever it is, helping my mother, talking to my mother, whatever it is, those normal things that are just life and enjoying life and make us happy and high, you know, that comes back. But at first it's a drip. It's just dripping into the cup. What happens for me, anyway, I'll keep it on me, is I never allowed that drip to become like a full cup. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So when the neurologist explained that to me, it was kind of like when I got out of rehab, and even during rehab, I remember listening to like Let It Go by James Bay, and every single one of us would just like swaying back and forth. Music sounded so good.
Everything.
You know, that's why I don't like Live Every Day Like It's Your Last, for example, because for a psycho like me, that means suck the fucking life out of everything until there's nothing left. You know what I mean? Yep. I like Live Every Day Like You're First because once my receptors started coming back and I just gave myself a chance to be without drugs and alcohol for a little while and just live life, and that drip became more of a constant drip and filling up that cup. Shit, man, I was getting high on life. Like I had a hunger for life again. I had this like thirst for love and adventure. I wanted to live, you know what I mean? And normal things started to excite me, like a good song that I heard 1,000 times.
Right.
I didn't even listen to music in the end. I would just listen to sports radio because I hated myself so much, and every song I played made me sad and depressed. So all I would listen to was sports radio. Like I didn't laugh. I laugh all the time now. I didn't laugh. People would say something, I'd be like, huh, that's funny.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm such a fucking mopey, limp dick.
Yeah.
But when I gave myself that chance, it's like the whole world opened up, you know, and everything felt brand new. That song felt like I was hearing it for the first time. It felt like I was hearing it with new ears. What I was seeing was with new eyes, you know, because you have that like awakening that I don't have to be that same person. That story I'm telling myself, the piece of shit, the liar, the cheat, the manipulator, that could be a was. You know, and that's when things open up for me. So that neurologist, and that's why I'm glad you brought that up for a year, because I think a lot of people need to hear that, whoever's struggling. And this is with depression or anything else. I mean, shit, man. Move a muscle, change a thought.
Yeah.
Right? Action, you can't think your way. Like all the sayings are true, but it's not just like a program. If you listen to or ever read a book, a lot of successful people, now again, not just money, fulfillment, a passion for life, right? Contentment. Like they're all saying the same shit.
Yeah.
You know, can't we just get it? Can't we just get it and know that sitting around doing fucking nothing, hoping your problems go away doesn't work?
It's funny you say move a muscle, change a thought, because I remember I told you when I was in rehab, I was doing over 1,000 push-ups a day. 1,000.
And he can do. He's not just saying. He sounds like a bullshit artist.
Well, now I've settled into 300 a day now.
No, I know, and I've seen him bump out like 78 push-ups in a row.
But I had to do them in rehab because my brain was going.
They're girl push-ups though. No,
they're not. They're.
I'm just not gonna.
But it helped.
Yeah,
it shut my brain off.
Everything helped, but that's why I did those things, right? Like that's why you saw me meditating. Yeah. I learned how to be a man there. Like clean up after myself, clean the toilet, clean the dishes, ride the bus. I'm fucking an Italian spoiled kid from Planet. I never rode the bus before. I like came up with this card. The bus driver must have thought I was supposed to swipe his ass crack or something. I'm like, what do I do with this? Yeah. He's like, fucking there, you know? It was stuff like that, doing those little things, push-ups, playing basketball with friends, just sitting around telling stories. Like, that's why I'm not against war stories. Everybody likes to talk shit about them, but fucking They play a part. Like
I mean, I get it if you're in early recovery and you don't want to hear it.
Yes.
But I love war stories.
Oh my God.
I fucking love
But
them.
and it's also it's like you got to be able to fucking laugh at yourself. Like I think I don't regret the past, even though I made a lot of mistakes. This has got me here, and I'm happy. Right? You're happy with the man you're becoming.
Yeah.
Right? So like I don't have any regrets or anything like that. And I feel like the past should be like the rear view mirror. You should be glancing in all your mirrors while you're driving.
Yeah.
Unless you're a fucking Momo. Like be a defensive driver. Look what's going around. But you can't stare in the rear view mirror, right? Because you'll crash into something in front of you.
Right.
It's the same way I look at the past.
I love that.
I glance at it all the time. One, to reflect, because I did have a lot of good times. Drinking and drugging wasn't always bad.
Yeah.
The fuck? It shaped to, like, there was a lot that I didn't want to let go.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I
it was
love
great.
drinking and drugging.
But it didn't end like that for a very long time. Yeah, it was fun when I was going out dancing, banging broads, having a great time, fucking this, that.
Those first 10 years were awesome.
Yeah, it was terrible when I was sitting in my the bedroom I grew up in at 34 years old, and I'm gray, like I look a totally different color. Like it was.
Yep. Yeah, that first pill of ecstasy and like the next year of just doing ecstasy every day was awesome.
Yeah,
but then when I was 94 pounds,
then it started getting creepy and weird.
And I had to take ecstasy just to feel right.
Yeah,
it started
that's not
getting
fun.
weird.
Yeah.
My friends were calling me a drug addict. Like, dude, something's wrong with you. You weigh 90 pounds.
Yeah, they were Nostradamus, dude. They had it figured out. You fucking wasn't that hard to
like we take ecstasy on the weekends. You take it to go out to eat with your parents.
So I got a funny
something wrong with you.
I got a funny story with that. My ex. So we had a house in Melville that our parents bought us. I don't know how he didn't shoot me with a shotgun, but so they bought his house. We're in that house, and now I'm a bum. I'm smoking pills all the time. I'm just fucking. I'm all over the place, And she hates it. And she had told me, she's like, listen. I took her on the worst 7-year merry-go-round anybody deserves to be on. I took her to California, back, this, that, and she was awesome. And she said from the beginning, I'll love you until there's nothing left. I'll love you hard, and it was. And then she was just disgusted with me. So anyway, I remember right before she called me the last time, broke up with me, she's like, listen, we're going out. She's like, get your fucking shit together, because I was just a bum on the couch.
Leaving the house.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, wow, we got everything we need right here. Come
so you got your drugs. You're
yeah,
good. Yeah.
I'm good, baby. I just got McDonald's. I got Coke. I got.
That's all I need.
Come sit down. Yeah. So she's like, no, we're going out, or you're out of here.
Yeah.
So this is what I do. I go out,
shower.
Just take a shower. I went out, got a bottle of Grey Goose. Right, got 5 ecstasy pills, got a lick of K, and got 10 Roxys at the time.
Yeah.
So I come home and I drop it all on the table, and she's like, "What are you doing?" Because she used to come out and party with me sometimes.
Right.
She wasn't at that, but like we'd go out dancing and fucking and dropping E and shit like that. So I drop on the table. She's all dressed. She's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" She said, "You wanted to go out. We had to go out." And she's like, I wanted you to take me to a bocce, you dick. I'm like, what the fuck? But like,
you needed all that to go out, though.
You tell 100%. Me I have to go out. Wait, you want me to socialize? All right. Like I had to get prepared for that. So that's why when you brought that up, that's what I had to do too. I get it.
Dude, like everything. Like to go bowling, I had to make sure I had E-pills, Xanax, a bat of weed, and at least a pint of vodka in my pocket.
That's so funny.
Just to do anything.
I think it's so funny. I can't even imagine you bowling on ecstasy. Just fingering the ball, not throwing it.
I used to go so crazy. I used to like pretend I'm movie characters.
Yeah,
like, look at me.
I say it all the time. I was addicted to attention before anything else. I literally used to just run around with my dick out all the time.
Like a little fucking psycho.
Yeah, I loved attention.
Yeah.
As soon as I got into Andrew Dice Clay, I was 7 years old when my Rodney Dangerfield, he had that like new comedian special.
Yes.
So my brothers had a special with him and a couple other, Dom Herrera was on it and a few other guys, funny guys. And he had a 7-minute stand-up or something like that. And I watched that, and I was like, I saw God.
Right, hickory dickory dock,
all
the
the
bitch
time.
was sucking my cock, the clock struck 2, I poured out my goo. I left the bitch at the next corner.
Yeah.
Oh!
I love that. I used to say shit like, in class. Yeah. I was just wearing leather jackets and shit like that from young, smoking those fake cigarettes, doing the behind-the-back thing.
Yeah.
So we got where you came into the sober house, and finally what got you there.
Yeah.
I want to know what your first drink was, and if when you saw it, because for me, right, I say this all the time. I don't blame anything except for me because I had it in me. Like I was always looking at the angles. I didn't want to be an accountant when I grew up. You know what I mean? Like I wanted to be a criminal. So I always saw the angles and stuff like that, right? And wanting to try things early. I didn't look at people getting drunk and be like, oh no. I was like, oh fuck, I can't wait to do that.
Right.
So when was the first drink that you had, drug that you had? What was the first thing?
First time I got drunk was in my basement in Dix Hills. My brother made us screwdrivers, and once it hit me, I was like, oh my God, whoa. Like, this is the feeling I don't ever want to leave.
This is different.
Me. Yeah. Oh, I started calling people. I was a new kid in school, and I was a little shy. I was afraid to make new friends and all these things. But once I got that vodka in me, I'm fucking calling everyone. I'm like, hey, how you doing? What you doing? Hey, let's get some pot.
All right, so back up. So where were you? Where were you living before?
Oh, Margate, New Jersey.
And then where'd you move to?
First of all, I was Hoser in Margate, New Jersey.
Yeah, I know. That fucking name is done. Stop saying that.
And then I moved to Dix Hills for 8th grade.
Ah, okay. So
I joined the football
team.
team.
We're in Dix Hills.
Yeah.
All right. So we just moved from Margate, New Jersey.
Yeah.
Hoser becomes Justin.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yes.
So now we're in Dix Hills.
Justin with the weird New Jersey accent and the tight jeans and just like.
Do you ever have anybody say, wait a
style.
minute, are you sure your name's not Hoser? Because you don't look like a Justin.
No, they
That's
didn't
Justin.
even know my name.
Yeah.
I was like a non-entity.
So you're there. You're in Dix Hills, right?
Yeah.
You start making friends and drinking with them, or you just drinking on your own, coming to school, fucking trying to make friends?
got drunk and I had a few people's numbers. And I called them and I asked them if they can get pot and what do you all these things. And then I started smoking weed with them. They were like, wait, weren't you the kid the day before that was like wearing the Dare shirts and like don't do drugs
in the
and
corner hugging himself, crying?
Right, I was such like when you move from South Jersey to Long Island, it's like a culture shock.
Yeah.
Like it's much slower and like
I know.
You know what I mean?
Dated
Like
a girl from South Jersey. It was
we wore
awesome
tight jeans. Like back when if you didn't wear baggy jeans, you were a dork.
Yeah.
You know? Like I was a dork for wearing like tight jeans, right? I came up there, I had no style. I wore fucking Hanes t-shirts and tight jeans, nothing.
Nice.
Right? I had a bowl haircut.
Of course.
Right? I had braces.
Yeah.
It was just fucking dorky, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't know I was dorky because in Margate, I was
Who
fucking
knows?
awesome. I was a fucking man in Margate. I was
You're
Hoser.
Margate. You're in South Jersey. They all look like that.
The Hoser.
The hose.
Right. But apparently that didn't fly up here. So.
Okay. So, and that was all fun. But when did it get to the point where you're like, maybe I got a problem? Like the progression of it, right? Were you somebody that got into fights? Were you someone that failed out of school? It was all of the above?
All of the
above. You get
above.
thrown out of sports? Like
I played football until I chose drinking and smoking weed over football.
So what was the point?
I stopped playing football.
Do you remember the point, right? Like thinking about the crossroads, for example.
Yeah.
Maybe the first one. Right. Do you remember the point you got to, like the first time you were like, this is, I don't know if I want to go down this road. I don't know if this is.
Okay. Driving up to my first day of football practice in 11th grade.
Okay.
The first day of football practice. My mom's dropping me off, and I'm about to get out of the car, and I go, do I want to do this? Right? Which essentially meant, getting my ass beat.
Sure.
It was 130 pounds soaking wet. I had a guy on my team that was...
Bowl haircut, I'd kick your ass just for that.
Dude, there was a dude on the team, Melvin Fowler. He played in the NFL eventually. Like we had real players on our team. And I'm like,
you could throw a ball though.
I could throw in my prime. I could
throw the rock a little bit.
throw in my prime. I could throw a football over 60 yards. Like I had a cannon, but I was still,
Coach would have put me in. We would have won state.
Coach would have put me in.
I could throw a ball clear over those mountains right there.
Dude, I was Uncle Rico. Right?
Absolutely.
But no, it's
you
true.
are Uncle Rico.
Right. I am Uncle Rico. But the truth is, that crossroad for me was me getting back in the car that moment and choosing like. Drinking, going and hanging out with friends behind a CVS or a 7-Eleven with a 40 of Old English and a joint.
That was so good.
Do I want to go to football practice or do I want to sit behind a 7-Eleven with a 40 of Old E and a joint?
Starter jacket on.
I'm like, this isn't even a choice.
Of course. I was so fucked up. I was getting high and going to play sports. So like I'd show up at football high at practice and be like, hey, Mr. Davis, I'm gonna go throw. And he's like, all right, Joe. Because I couldn't wait to throw the football. I was so, you know what I mean? Because I was stoned. I was like, and
throwing football stone's fun.
Oh my God, it's
like
fucking
a dart.
A dart.
Yeah.
I was just whizzing it there.
Yeah.
They're like, what the fuck? Yeah. And I thought that made me Superman. Yeah.
Well, no, dude, it did for me. Like I thought it too. And just imagine, like when I was doing stand-up comedy, like I thought I needed alcohol and drugs to be awesome at stand-up comedy.
Exactly, but those are the stories we tell ourselves, the lies, right? The lies for me was I'm never good enough, right? I'm never good enough. Dude, whether it's I drank because I wasn't tough enough and wanted courage to fight or ask out a girl, right? Whether it was steroids, right? I wasn't big enough or strong enough, whatever. I wasn't good enough at sports. I needed something to take me extra. It didn't matter what it is. Well, GHB or fucking ecstasy was because I didn't fuck good enough. Like I was never good enough. So it all comes back to that same thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's why I looked at it like that. That was the story I told myself is without this, who am I? What am I without this? Because I thought once you took it away from me, I lost everything. I thought I lost all my assets.
Like the biblical Samson with his long hair. You know, you needed it.
Simpson.
Samson, Simpson. Right near the beach, moon.
Oh, that movie's so good.
Yeah. So, but yeah, bottom line is, man, drugs worked. You know, they worked. They served their purpose for me, man. It's just they stopped working, and there was no way for me to make it work again. There was no going back. Like they did help me. Like they fucking helped me when I was a kid. I couldn't even talk to people before, and they got me out of my shell, and then they got me on stage to do stand up comedy. I probably never would have done stand up comedy in the first place. Wouldn't have had the balls to do it. They did a lot of stuff, but then my body, it was killing me. It was killing my body. That's where I think God stepped in and made the drinking and the drugging not fun anymore. I made my life miserable while I was drinking and drugging because my body, my organs, and my brain couldn't go much longer drinking a handle of vodka a day. When I say a handle of vodka, I mean a fucking handle of vodka.
No,
like,
I know.
I would hover around a 0.23 alcohol level. That was where I would not go into withdrawal.
Oh, I wish I was friends with you. I would have took such advantage of you.
If my blood alcohol dipped below 0.2, which is like, what? Almost 3 times the legal limit. Like people are passed out at that. That's where I would just get right.
Well, that was the problem because I had a friend that used to black out all the time, and when other people would pass out, he wouldn't, and that's why he would get into trouble because he would get into fights and everything like that.
I would stay up 3-4 days in a row.
Of course, but so that was the first little crossroad there, right? A miniature. Like I could either go play football, or go drink this 40. Now let's fast forward. Now let's go to just a bigger crossroad. What was that point? Right? You've been to up-teen rehabs, detox, all that shit. But what was that point where you really were like, I have a fucking problem? Because I don't know about you. I could easily admit that I was an addict and alcoholic. I had no problem with that. I kind of wore it as a badge of honor, like I'm a badass. But admitting that I was powerless was very difficult. And for me, I knew it at 25. Like there was a time at 25 where I was like, I'm fucked. My ego said I could get myself out of it. And that's when I started coming to, I came to NA first and some AA, but I was 25 years old. So, and it took me 9.5, 10 years, whatever, to get it.
Not for me.
So that being said, give me another crossroad. Give me another point where you got to where you were like, dude, I could go this way.
Okay.
Good.
Well, when I was telling you about the ecstasy, I was doing ecstasy every day. When I realized, when I looked in the mirror and said, this is not going as the way I wanted it, I look horrible. And I'm a very vain person, right? So I looked horrible, and it was because I wasn't eating, and I was doing ecstasy every day. And I was literally barely eating food, so I just started to look horrible. So I had to stop. But I didn't think like I had a problem. I just thought ecstasy was bad for me, so I had to stop it. So that's when I really became a full-blown alcoholic. So I made a conscious choice to drink. Replace the ecstasy with the alcohol. Because alcohol is fine, it's acceptable. James Bond drinks martinis.
Of course, you're a fucking gentleman.
Right. So that's when I started buying pints of Southern Comfort is what I started with because it was easy to drink.
Southern Comfort was good, too.
It was easy to drink
and it was,
straight.
it was good.
And I needed to get that shit in my... I wasn't beating around the bush, putting stuff in it, having drinks at the bar. Like I wasn't drinking for the taste.
Yeah, no,
I was drinking because I needed that shit in my system.
You wanted the effect.
It needed to replace my ecstasy addiction.
Yeah.
Right? So I replaced it with that, and I was, and it worked. I was like, oh my God, I did it! I quit ecstasy. I thought I was doing great, but all I did was replace it with copious amounts of alcohol, and so that was a crossroads for me, where I guess that was the first moment where I didn't admit it to myself that I had a problem, but I definitely made a change in my life because, this drug was killing me. It was making me fade into nothing. So I made that choice, and then I drank for 20 years straight, nonstop. Yeah.
Yeah. No. So I guess my first big crossroad, I remember to a T. So let me backtrack a little bit, tell you exactly what happened. So I'm in college. It's my senior year of college. I've been selling and hustling since I was like younger or whatever. So I met this girl from Jersey, South Jersey, actually.
609.
Beautiful girl, half Panamanian, half Irish, like gem, good person. So I'm a football player, quarterback, she's a cheerleader. And we just meshed well. We hit it off. A friend introduced us, a longtime friend that moved up to Jersey, loved it, right? So I invite her over. Now, at this time, I've been like this. Well, no, I'm not like that anymore. But I've been the guy getting into trouble, getting into fights, using, selling, just doing stupid shit. And up until that point, every girl, I guess, kind of liked that because they knew what I did. You know, it's almost like, oh, it's nice. It's intriguing, you know? So this girl comes to my apartment. She walks in my bedroom door, and I have my mirror off the closet door because I had 30 licks of K drying in the sunlight. So I have a mirror filled with this white powder facing the window and like $10,000 cash laid out on the bed. And she walks in, and she's like, ew, who the fuck are you? And walks out. And I'm like, oh.
What an uppity bitch.
Crushed to my ego, it was what it was, because never saw that before, never felt that before, and I was really into her. So that happens, right? And now, at that point, I was like, damn, I'm really interested in this girl. And then when I got to college, I was all fucked up. I was hanging out with the wrong people, ecstasy, I got into crystal meth, GHB, ketamine, coke, all the other stuff that I was doing through middle school and high school. You know, by the time I was in middle school, I was fucking around with dust, acid, mushrooms, all that stuff, right? By the time high school came, it was ecstasy, ketamine, cocaine. By the time college came, I graduated to GHB and crystal meth. Let's fucking throw that on top of it, too.
I never understood that. GHB for fun. That's like the date rape drug.
Yeah, but
when you took it for fun. I don't know.
Oh, so much fun. Well, I would take a cap along with everything. I was on so much shit, it didn't matter. But this was one of the first crossroads, right? Like you talked about the first and second crossroad. I'm going to give you my first two now. First crossroad was this girl walking into my life and being like, you're a loser. And me finally reflecting honestly about, wow, maybe I am a loser. So I decided to give it a stop. I'm gonna quit everything, okay? Me quitting everything is me smoking weed every day, shooting enough steroids to kill a small horse, right? And drinking GHB every night because it's good for my muscles, right? To help me sleep. Yeah. Makes sense.
No, 100%.
So I wind up getting this girl back. I say I'm going to drop everything. Now I'm out of college with her, okay? I wind up going to assistant coach my old high school football and basketball team.
Nice.
Right? And during that time at high school football, I met this guy who was like, yo, you're really good with the kids. Like, they listen to you. Like, you could tell you love this. You're into it. You want to be a trainer. And I'm like, absolutely. So this is back like 24 or 25 years old, right? He sends me to Hofstra to get my certification. He mentors me. Great guy. Taught me so much. Because it's hard. You could go get your certification, but to be a good coach and trainer, like to have a mentor is everything, right? Because somebody needs to teach you how to operate in the gym with the equipment, how to behave around the clients. Exactly. Just everything. How to be a good coach, right? So he was the man. So anyway, I paint that picture because first crossroad was her coming into my life and, you know, me taking an honest look at myself. Okay. So I decide to try and do something about it. Now, I'm playing semi-pro football. I'm going to go try out for this combine with their Arena 1, 2, and 3 back in the day, like NFL Europe or some shit like that.
That's fucking awesome.
So I was in it, right?
And you were juicing at this time.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I was juicing my tits off. So I have this girl who, like, again, it's just like everything's set up. We have 2 dogs. It's nice. We're living in the basement with my parents. I have this job, right? I'm a coach. I'm an athletic performance trainer, coach of my old high school football and basketball team. Like, everything was good.
Seems
you know
good.
What I mean? Like everything seems great. You know what I mean? And I don't tell this story to blame anyone except myself because I've been taking pills forever. Yeah. You know, I just never like that. So anyway, I'm playing a semi-pro football game. I make this catch, pretty sick catch because this kid was talking a lot of shit and he was hanging all over me. But I broke 2 ribs, tore my oblique, and separated my AC joint. So I was already buying pills for my friend, but I was in a lot of pain and I knew that I couldn't afford to keep fucking paying. I wasn't making that much money as a trainer. Assistant coach, I wasn't making anything. It was volunteer. So I went to the doctor and got a bunch of those blue little devils and started taking
what are the
them.
blue little devils?
Roxy, the 30 milligram oxycodones. So, and this is back when doctors were fucking shady as shit and all the thing. But again, it wasn't his fault. I knew where to go and how to get there. I had the excuse, you know, I had the MRI. I had the injury. You know what I mean? I just knew how to milk it correctly because I'm a salesman. I'm a bullshit artist. I'm going to manipulate my way.
You sell yourself into an early grave.
Absolutely. And it went from like him giving me perks to me knowing to say like, oh, I have to take too many. I'm in a lot of pain. It hurts my stomach. And then I knew he was going to prescribe me that. So anyway.
Selling yourself. You're selling the shit to yourself.
Of course. Yeah. So now I'm on this stuff for months. Now, mind you, most of college I was doing what I said, like a garbage pail, right? Mm-hmm. So crystal meth, never got addicted like that kind of thing, like physically addicted, withdrawals. All that stuff I just stopped. So the ego even more. Like I partied like a maniac, like a rock star. And I could just stop that stuff. Even though I was still smoking weed and drinking GHB, like to me, I was healthy, right? So basically after that happened, I started taking those things all the time. And I'll never forget it. Finally, when I healed up, I got ready to go train, right? So I was waking up the next morning thinking like, everything's healed. I feel good. My injuries are gone. So tomorrow morning would be my first day back going to work out with my coach and train. So I wake up that day and I'm not thinking to take a pill, right? Because I'm out of pain and I would just want to go work out and I wouldn't get high before I worked out. Like I was still use them for pain, but also to get high because I couldn't do anything but sit on the fucking couch, you know? Right. So I just go to work out and I'm sitting there at 6 a.m. and bro, my eyes are bloodshot. I'm fucking sweating.
Yep.
My skin has lost like 5 different layers of pigment. I'm just like, I'm like cringing. I'm sweating. I like want to tear out of my skin. I'm weak. A fucking 25-pound dumbbell feels like 100.
Fucking withdrawals.
Oh my God. And I'd never felt them before. So my coach at the time is like, you're right. What the fuck's wrong with you? Because he knew we were working out like animals. All of a sudden, I couldn't lift anything, even after an injury. And this was months later. So he's like, you get out of here. Go home. Maybe you're sick. So I go home and not even thinking because I'm going to be home sick now and not working. I'm going to be lounging on the couch. Of course, I'm going to eat some pills. So I throw 5 pills in my mouth. I go try and zone out on the couch. And all of a sudden, I'm Superman again. Yeah. Dude. All the juices like came back into me. Like immediately after just a few minutes, I just felt like this rush. Like I'm back. Yeah. Oh, what do you want to do? You want to do speed and agility, strength training, and cardio all in one? I'm good. Yep. I'm good. I'm ready to rock. I felt strong. The color came back. There was no more sweating. My eyes cleared up. Like I felt like the fucking man.
Yeah.
And it was that moment. Yeah. That was one of the first biggest crossroads. You know, the second one technically, but there's a lot more going back, but I'm talking about in terms of my addiction and stuff. Like I was like, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
And I could have went, all right, like, look, it's early to catch. Let's go talk to somebody. Let's go try and get help. Let's go to this.
That's
I don't
hard.
know. Yeah,
that's hard
to
do.
Of course. But that's why I want to talk about it so much because this is the thing I think both of us are fascinated with from the sober house, watching different people from different walks of life, right? And almost like Tony Soprano character, these people that have done such insane, disgusting, crazy things and seeing the human in them, you know, just the want to get better. Remember, who was the old guy that was with us? Not Leo, the other old guy. The one that got hit by a car and he kept on. He was like 80 years old. Oh. He's been trying to get sober for years, 50 years. And the guy's there, no car, nothing. He gets hit by a car. Ugh. And I see him limping out the door the next day. And I'm like, where are you going? He's like, I'm going to a meeting. I'm like, you just got fucking hit by a car. Right. He's like, I'd still be going to get drunk.
Right.
And it hit me.
He would have crawled to a meeting.
He would have crawled to a meeting because he wanted it. So like, from that point, us seeing all those things and all the human side of everyone that and unfortunately, we lost a lot of people because there were a lot of people that died. There was a lot of people that just got kicked out, relapsed. You yourself relapsed. It was just nonstop. It was a never-ending cycle. But to get to see all those different types of people going through the same thing, it always made me wonder, like, what was that point where things could have been different, maybe? And I'm not saying it should. And I'm not saying it should have. It interests me to know, like, what were the roads that took us down that path? Right. You know, what were the decisions that were made that could have been made differently? And would we have been happy with them if we did make it? Like, that's really interesting to me to look back on. So when we got a chance to see all that there, right, and see the potential it had, just because everybody out there right now could probably throw a rock and not hit someone that hasn't been impacted by addiction and alcoholism, either directly or indirectly, right? And a lot of us, even though we're addicts and alcoholics, a lot of us are just fucking faulted human beings. And that's what I think people connect to, because even though we're talking about addiction, it's the feelings that led to the addiction and the feelings of not feeling good enough, of being insecure, right? Of just never feeling like you're going to amount to anything, feeling like nobody understands you, feeling like you have a black cloud over your head, like the other shoe's going to drop, you know what I mean? Like all this stuff. We get in this position, even as a human, where we feel like we don't have another road. We don't have any choices, that we're stuck with this life and this story. And it's bullshit. It's bullshit because we're living proof of it. And that's why I was so interested about starting this podcast in the beginning, because I was so fascinated about how so many different kinds of people and different people could all be suffering from the same thing. And what it is, besides addiction, is just humanness and feeling inadequate and feeling like you don't want to be in your own skin. We're human beings. A lot of the things we do is based on survival, which is just a code written in our brain that we really can't control. But understanding it, we could have a better idea how to manage it, right? So that's why when we set up that script and we were thinking about that name, right, and we were going over, we didn't want it to be like AA related because the traditions and stuff like that, but we wanted it to have some kind of multiple meaning, not just for addicts and alcoholics, but for the family members that have suffered through this, for friends, for companies, for business owners, for employers, for everyone who deals with that, and not just the addicts, but the emotions and feelings that you go through that are like a detriment to your life and well-being and growth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when we looked at that, a burning desire, one of the things they say at meetings is anyone have a burning desire? We looked at that for a very specific meaning because it has a double meaning, right? We kept on saying we want something with a double meaning because...
Right, like when you have gonorrhea.
Yeah. Yeah. So exactly. So burning desire for us is like, it's said at the end of the meeting because does anybody have a burning desire to get high or hurt themselves or somebody else? But a burning desire doesn't have to be negative. And what I like about our stories and a lot of stories is I like finding that burning desire that before would put out lights, now starting lights within someone. You know what I mean? Because the burning desire could take us down the road to hell. I have a burning desire for anything, right? Women, porn, drugs, alcohol. But that burning desire could be switched to a burning desire to live, to learn, right? To love, to experience things for the first time, to write a different story for yourself. Not a lot of people get to write two stories, right? Because they keep believing the lie they tell themselves that this is their story and this is how they're going to end up, and don't realize that you could change that at any time. Yeah. But it does take work and a willingness. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit because I think that title of the script, the only name we could think of was Burning Desire.
It's the only one that stood out.
Well,
we spent time on it, and that was it.
It's huge. So, that's it. And that's what we're trying to do is we wanted to give a little bit about our story because our burning desire went from destroying our lives because I thought I was going to die at 30. I was hoping for it. I
accepted the fact that I wasn't living past 50. Like I was like, give me an awesome 50 years. Let me sign up for that now.
Live hard, die young. Yeah. And so that burning desire in us, and obviously all the rehabs and detoxes you've been through, all the pain you caused, all the pain I caused, that burning desire has now switched to helping people, right?
Well,
being the best version of ourselves.
That's the beauty of it. That's why when you said like when we talk about crossroads, it's like it reminds me of that movie, The Butterfly Effect. Like, would I go back and change any of these things? No. Like, ideally, you would think on the surface, I could change all these things and make everything right. But where would I be right now if I did all that? Would I be in a position to help others? Would I even be here? Would I even be alive? You change one little detail about your life, about your past. That means I'm not trusting God anymore.
Yes.
So I wouldn't change anything, even the pain, the suffering, all the horrors. I would not change it. So these are crossroads, but I wouldn't go back and go take the other route, no matter how tempting it would be in a hypothetical situation. If I was offered to go back in time, and do it,
of course. And that's why the whole point. That's not real life, right? And the whole point is our ability to accept things the way they are.
Yeah.
And also look at things just objectively, right? Just an honest assessment of oneself, right? Can I do better? Can I do worse? How could I do better? But the bottom line is you don't have that ability if you don't have a choice, right? And that's kind of the whole theme of this podcast is crossroads, bringing people in here.
Yeah, we'll bring guests.
To make.
Of course. Guests.
Decisions. But the bottom line is like I think a lot of people need to realize out there, whether addict or not, or just suffering, whether it's mental illness or just life. Life is a mental illness in its own sometimes, all the stresses and nervousness is caused. Yeah. But I think we want people to realize this most. Like, you always have a choice to change,
right?
And that
never
wasn't
too late.
We're
like the
grateful
80-year-old
for
that was, in our sober house. It's never too late.
No.
It's never like,
like I was
I'm 60 years old. It's too late. No, it's never too late.
And he was like 70 and just got hit by a car, and he's fucking limping his ass down the street. And it wasn't close. He had to ride a bus. It's not like it was around the block. The meeting,
right.
But that's the idea. Is like. That's one thing that addicts should and alcoholics should be grateful for is the choice was taken away from us. And every day we wake up with a choice. It's like it's a different world. And but I also think that just other humans in general need to understand that every day we wake up with a choice. We keep telling ourselves the same story and keep on doing things to make that story real, right? And inputting actions to just keep telling ourselves, yeah, we're a piece of shit, or yeah, we're this or that. Or they have a choice to change and take action towards that change. And the more people you get to hear from who have done it, who didn't read some book on how to do it or a fucking self-help thing, but literally experienced it, I think a lot of people will get a lot from it. Yeah. So that's what I hope for.
Yeah. So that's going to be our podcast. This is it.
Yeah, that's it.
We're going to have guests. We're going to talk about war stories, whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah,
you know,
we're just gonna have combos,
experience, crossroads,
and same thing. I'm interested. I'm interested in that first drink. I'm interested in people's psychology of how they thought. Did they never think they were going to drink? Were they like me, where they always saw the angles? I'm interested on where it took them, why they made certain choices, and I guess that's. That's what's beautiful about it.
And it doesn't have to be.
Talk to people. No, it's not.
It doesn't have to be addicts and alcoholics. Anyone. No, we're not unique. We just happen to get addicted to drugs and alcohol. But everyone has crossroads in life. That's right. The bottom line. Everyone has war stories. Everyone has crossroads. Everyone, has a brain and a spirit and a soul and thinks. And that's what we're going to talk about in this show. Everything.
Yes.
So let's just. We'll end it on that.
Yeah, it was awesome. Good job. Thanks, Casey. This was fucking fantastic, dude.
Of course.
KC, the master producer.
And that's KC.
KC, like
Kansas
the letters.
City Chief.
Yes.
Not KC.
Not KC at the bat. No.
So what did I do?
You were calling him KC like KC at the bat.
So what's the difference of KC and KC?
It's just the spelling, really, right? You don't pronounce it.
No, but how did
There's
you know?
a hesitation between the syllables? Is that the...
Yeah, because how did you know I wasn't saying the right thing?
Because I could tell.
Maybe it was my accent.
I could tell.
It's KC. He's the man.
Right.
We're in his room. He's producing this shit, and we're having a good time. This is awesome.
We're having a good time. And maybe next episode we could talk about your addiction to porn and where that taking you.
I don't have an addiction to porn. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
All right. All right.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
All right. That's it. We're done.
All right, guys.